Hi, everybody. Brian Norcross here with a midday tropical update on Tropical Storm Isaias. It's Sunday, August 2nd, 2020. So, some good news for the Florida coastline here just this morning. Isaias has wobbled just far enough offshore that the worst of the weather is going to stay offshore, and there's still the possibility of some tropical storm force over 40-mile-an-hour bands coming ashore. Still a little bit of a water rise, but nowhere near as bad as it could have been. Look what happened. It's the same kind of thing we've been talking about for a number of days for Miami-Dade and Broward County. Here we were. This was about midnight last night. Now watch as I put this into motion and watch the track wobble to the right, wobble to the left, and then wobble back to the right. Now it's kind of bending a little to the left, but all that wobbling has kept the core of it just far enough offshore that the concern for the Florida coast from the Palm Beaches to the north that even this morning was not clear. So this morning it looked like this was going to be the direction right here. It looked like it was going to continue right on that direction. So these wobbles are absolutely impossible to forecast. So that's why there's a cone. The storm wobbles around inside the cone. It's staying inside the cone. But what happened is another big flare up of thunderstorms. You see it over here on the right side, has a little bit of rotation about it up in there, and that's kind of tugged the system to the right as it did earlier on. So it's the nature of tropical systems. All tropical systems, even strong hurricanes, wobble, and generally they go in an average direction. But boy, when there's a coastline involved, just that little bit of a wobble of 30, 40 miles plus or minus, something like that, really makes a tremendous amount of difference. Now, here's what's going on with the system. Here's a model representation and why the news is good. This is as we've been talking about. This is as of noon today, so just about right now, actually. So you see where the lines are packed here and the lines are packed there. That's where the heaviest wind and the heaviest rain and the most intense weather is. Where you see the lines kind of farther apart here and then down here toward Miami-Dade and Broward County especially, the winds are much lighter and things are just, with the storm, just aren't anywhere near as intense. We still have dry air here and it's still feeding around, kind of wrapping up in. You see kind of a dry patch right there, right along the Florida coastline. Another finger of dry air up in there. So it's been a battle between the dry air in the atmosphere and the unfavorable upper winds, but it is here over very warm waters of the Gulf Stream. That's what making those thunderstorms flare up, and it's just really great that it didn't end up over here doing that or right at the coast doing that. It certainly could have. This is just unforecastable with modern science. I don't think it'll be forecast actually anytime in our lifetime. All right, let's look at the satellite on the wider view now, and you can see what's coming up. The main feature is, besides obviously the tropical storm down here, is this big dip in the jet stream here that's coming along, very sharp dip that's got this flow going from the southwest to the northeast. So once the tropical storm gets up here near Georgia or the Carolinas, that general flow is going to catch up to it and going to lift it up. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to lift it in a northeastward direction up the east coast. The second thing is it's going to enhance the rainfall possibility on the west side. So as you know, in Florida here, the storm with the center being in there somewhere has been all east side. In other words, away from Florida has been the main impacts of the storm. Well, this is going to energize the west side. So we're going to see a lot of heavy rain on the west side of the storm. As a matter of fact, look, I can show you the forecast. This is from NOAA and the Weather Prediction Center. And you can see that down here off Florida, there's where the heavy rain is, including, by the way, Grand Bahama, where the heavy rain has continued and flooding threat is there. And this is right over top of Grand Bahama, one of the two islands, of course, so hard hit by Hurricane Dorian last year. But you see with Florida, that heavy rain swath is offshore. just some rain onshore here, and then this down here farther south is really related to more afternoon thunderstorms if the skies ever clear here. But then if the track comes up here, you notice the heavy rain in the yellows. This is 4 to 6 inches of rain coming down in a big hurry. It's on the left side of the track, and that's because it's enhanced by that flow, that jet stream flow that you saw on the satellite. And then moving north, not as rainy because it's moving so quickly up in here, but still solid rain on up through the I-95 corridor in the northeastern U.S. as the thing tracks on up to the north. So we'll continue to watch that moving forward due to this jet stream here, and it's called an enhancing jet stream on the west side of the tropical system. All right, so here is the cone, and here's the very good news. Look at the difference that just that much distance makes in terms of where the cone is. Last night, the center of the cone was pretty much right up the coast. Now it's right offshore, and that makes all the difference in the world. Hurricane center is keeping it a 65-mile-an-hour tropical storm. That's what the estimate is now. And as the cone goes north, then it comes into the Carolina coast here. When it does that, there's a storm surge threat there. Still going to be a healthy tropical storm is the forecast. And remember, you always add 10 or 15 miles per hour and subtract, by the way. So when they were forecasting 75, 65 to 85 was the right estimate. It ended up being 65. We were lucky. Same kind of thing here. You have Gulf Stream water. It depends on how unfavorable the winds are, whether it stays 65 or it might get a little stronger. In any case, they're watching it at the Carolina coast, and then inland flooding possible in the Carolinas. And then up to the northeast we go. It's going to be moving quickly, but this is going to push some water up against Long Island and even into New England. They're going to know there's a tropical system going by, feeling the tropical air and feeling the tropical rain up there. So anybody in the northeast needs to pay attention to the local forecasts of what's going on there. As far as the models are in pretty much agreement. You notice the red model, that's the one, if you look online, you'll see it called the TVCA or TVCX. We call it the Con-A or Con-X for consensus. In other words, it's the consensus of the best models, and the National Hurricane Center normally uses that for the center of the cone. No exception here. You see there are models that have the storm weaker over the land, and this one is the Canadian model, the purple one we don't normally look at that much, and the ones buried behind the red are GFS and what's called the H-Wharf, and the European model is included in that red average. So we have that's where the cone is coming from, is from that consensus model. And so if you notice that as we go north, the consensus model kind of goes right up the cone, and so this is what we think is going to happen, that the center of the storm is going to come up in here, but if the storm is rotating this way, it's pushing water up against Long Island, New York. When it's down here, it's pushing water up against the Jersey Shore. So everybody just needs to be aware of what the local officials are telling you is going to happen. It's moving so fast, I don't think this is going to be a big storm surge threat, but that analysis is yet to come when we have a better understanding of exactly what the storm is doing. All right, that's your midday update. I'll check in with you later on this afternoon. Good news for Florida. We're watching for farther north. Have a good day.